Good evening, and we'll bring the meeting back to order. And we will start with a work session. Our wonderful committee fiscal staff will start out with our first bill, Assembly Bill 45.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 45 was heard on May 17th. It creates the student loan repayment for provider health care of underserved community program to repay student education loans for providers of health care, including physicians, physician's assistants, dentists, licensed nurses, emergency medical technicians, optometrists, audiologists, practitioners of respite care, podiatrists, psychiatrists, clinical professionals, counselors, perfusionists, pharmacists, technicians, and social workers, as well as midwives and doulas. There was a fiscal impact related to this, and the treasurer had submitted a fiscal note of $63,188 in fiscal year 2024 and $80,650,000 in 2025. The bill also provides for $5 million from transfers from the abandoned property trust account to fund the program in each year. Madam Chair, there has been some discussion about possibly utilizing some of this funding to support the operating costs that are identified by the Treasurer's Office, in addition to reducing the amount from $5 million transfer each year to $2.5 million. So, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to entertain that, it would be an amend and do pass. Is it as amended? Yes. Amend, do pass as amended. Is there a first report?
Members, any questions? Assemblyman Hafen. One, two.
Thank you, Madam Chair. During the hearing, there was a conversation about possibly amending Assembly Bill 248 into AB 45. Is that moving forward, or is that not part of the amendment that was discussed? Sorry, I was having trouble hearing. And if you need clarification, Madam Chair, happy to provide it. Matching federal dollars.
Okay, we'll bring the meeting back to order. And we, Mr. Jimenez, I invite you to the table. There was a question on the floor if Assembly Bill 248, is that the correct bill number? There was discussion during the hearing to amend it in to this bill, and it is a $250,000 per year allocation that has a dollar-for-dollar federal match. Could that be part of the fund to amend into your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Eric Jimenez for the record. It's an honor to be in my first Ways and Means After Dark. Hopefully my last.
I wish I could say the same.
Yeah. So the Assemblyman from District 19, I think, oh, whatever, 36, doesn't matter. He brought up Assembly Bill 248, which contains funding for the Nevada Health Service Corps. So that's the existing loan repayment program that has a more limited scope, operated out of the UNR School of Medicine and Public Health. That is a $250,000 appropriation in each year of the biennium that has a dollar-for-dollar match. Typically, this has been brought every single session, and they fight for the match. If we were to amend that into this bill, it would be baked into the unclaimed property transfer, and we would never have to solve that problem again, much like we have the grants matching fund out of that unclaimed property transfer. So we would be amenable to the change.
Thank you so much for getting that on the record.
So, Madam Chair, with further clarification and conversation from the committee, it appears that the amendment would then be to provide $2.5 million in transfers from the abandoned property trust account to fund the program that is provided for in AB 45. That is also funding to pay for the fiscal impact that the Treasurer's Office indicated that they would need to fund that program. And in addition, $250,000 in abandoned property trust account funds would also then be incorporated into this to pay for to provide an allocation to the Nevada Health Service Corp for, again, $250,000 per year for a total of $2,750,000. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, members, I'll accept a motion to amend and do pass as amended.
Madam Chair, I'd move to amend and do pass as amended, Assembly Bill 45.
Second.
I have a motion from Assemblywoman Bacchus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Moving on to the next item on our work session agenda, Assembly Bill 139.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Assembly Bill 139 revises provisions governing certain demographic information collected by governmental agencies. This bill was heard yesterday, presented by Assemblywoman Miller. Assembly Bill 139 requires governmental agencies that collect demographic information on race or ethnicity to include a separate category for persons of Middle Eastern or North African descent. Assemblywoman Miller did present a conceptual amendment during the bill hearing to clarify that the bill applied to justice, to include language for justice-related entities that would include law enforcement, the courts, and corrections may collect demographic information on race or ethnicity to include a separate category for persons of Middle Eastern or North African descent. And with the proposed amendment, there was confirmation from the Department of Public Safety that their fiscal impact had been removed. Also with the proposed amendment, the fiscal impact for the Administrative Office of the Courts had been removed. There were a couple other fiscal notes submitted and that still applied, including a fiscal impact for the Department of Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation for $2,083 in fiscal year 2024. That's in a budget account that is funded mainly with federal funds. So the committee would not need to provide an appropriation to address that fiscal impact. There also was a fiscal impact from the Division of Public and Behavioral Health for about $15,000 per year. That is in the Women, Infants, and Children's budget for the Department of Public and Behavioral Health. Again, a budget that's mainly funded with federal funds and other funds, so that would not need to be addressed with an appropriation. The fiscal impact for the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange, they had testified during the hearing that they can absorb their fiscal impact, and so the one fiscal impact that remains is for the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. During the hearing, it was confirmed that their fiscal impact was reduced to $140,400, and that would be in fiscal year 2024 and would require a general fund appropriation. So with that, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to move this bill, the amendment could provide a general fund appropriation for the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services. Also amend the bill to include the proposed amendment presented by Assemblywoman Miller, and the motion then would be to amend and do pass, I believe, as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Weiser. Members, you've heard the explanation of the work session, and I would accept a motion to amend and do pass.
Madam Chair, I'd move to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 139.
Second.
We have a motion from Assemblywoman Bacchus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the next item on our work session, Assembly Bill 158.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 158 was heard by the committee on May 26. It ratifies the recognition of emergency medical services personnel licensure interstate compact. The compact authorizes emergency medical services personnel who are certified in Nevada to practice pursuant to that certification in any other state that has ratified the compact, while also authorizing emergency medical personnel who are certified in another state to have ratified the compact to practice pursuant to the certification in that state. With regards to the fiscal impact, the Division of Public and Behavioral Health did identify $10,000, and that was primarily the cost to support the annual maintenance fee to connect to the compact's coordinated database. So if the committee wished to approve this, the motion would be to amend and do pass. Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to amend and do pass.
Madam Chair, I'd move to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 158.
I have a motion from Assemblywoman Hadeke, a second from motion from Assemblywoman Backus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadeke. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Assembly Bill 160.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 160 as amended provides a process for automatic sealing of eligible criminal records. This bill requires the Records, Communication, and Compliance Division of the Department of Public Safety to develop and implement a process to identify each eligible conviction and charge to be sealed, and each agency's criminal justice or other entity's custodian of records that may have possession of the records. Each month, the division must transmit a list of eligible convictions and charges to the Administrative Office of the Courts, recommending the sealing of the associated records. Madam Chair, there was a proposed amendment that was provided for this bill, and it essentially moves the implementation dates up, and it also limits the categories to Category E and a drug offense only. There is a fiscal impact that is provided for the Department of Public Safety, and the sponsor of the bill would like to request to amend the bill to add $1.5 million to cover the fiscal costs to that, as well as costs related to the advisory task force on automatic record sealing. In addition, the sponsor of the bill would also like to provide $1 million to the IFC for a statewide vendor contract associated with this. So, Madam Chair, if the committee wishes to adopt the amendment and the suggested changes that are provided by the sponsor, then it would be amend, do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions or comments? Not seeing any, I will accept a motion to amend and do pass as amended.
Madam Chair, I'd move to amend and do pass as amended Assembly Bill 160.
Thank you. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Backus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadeke. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman Hafen, Assemblywoman Kasama, and Assemblyman O'Neill, and the motion does carry. Moving on, the next item on our agenda for tonight is Assembly Bill 279.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 279, as amended, prohibits the Board of Regents of the University of Nevada from assessing tuition charges against a child of a veteran who has been awarded the Purple Heart, and requires the Board of Regents to waive the payment of registration fees, lab fees, and any other mandatory fees assessed each semester against a student who is a child of a veteran of the Armed Forces or of the United States, who has been awarded the Purple Heart to the extent that fees exceed the amount of federal education benefit for which a student is entitled. The bill, as amended, provides the age of the child eligible to receive such waivers. Madam Chair, I would note that the Nevada System of Higher Education could not determine what the fiscal impact would be, although it would be a reduction to tuition. There has been some discussion of potential amendment to this bill that would limit the participants to those that are Nevada residents who are Purple Heart recipients, and for the students that have graduated or went to high school in Nevada. So, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to approve this, it would be amend, do pass as amended.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to amend and do pass as amended.
Madam Chair, I'd move to amend and do pass as amended Assembly Bill 279.
I have a motion from Assemblywoman Backus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on our agenda for tonight is Assembly Bill 346.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 346 was heard on May 23rd by the committee. It provides a definition for the adjusted base budget calculation. Currently, there is no definition related to how the adjusted base budget is calculated, and as such, there is an established practice whereby the adjusted base budget includes the actual expenditures and revenues for the last completed even number year, plus or minus routine adjustments related to one-time expenditures. AB 346 provides a definition in Section 1, subsection 5, for adjusted base budget to mean an amount appropriated to the agency by the legislature for the second year of the current biennium, adjusted for the removal of one-time appropriations or authorizations, adjusted for statewide fringe benefits, contractual obligations, ongoing expenditures approved by the IFC, annualization of costs incurred in part of the second year, actual caseload, rate changes, and any other adjustments that may be necessary as determined by the Chief of the Governor's Finance Office. Madam Chair, there is a fiscal note on this bill. It is from the Legislative Council Bureau's Fiscal Analysis Division, us. We reached out to the vendor of our budgeting software system and asked them if our system would be able to meet the changes related to this legislation, and they had indicated to us that they would need about 120 hours of programming at $225 per hour, which would result in a fiscal impact of $27,000. I would also note that there was a mock-up that provided just a little bit of cleanup language related to both appropriations and authorizations that are utilized in the definitions. So with that, Madam Chair, if the committee wished to move this, the motion would be to amend, do pass as amended, to include the fiscal note as well as the mock-up that has been provided.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions or comments? Not seeing any, then I will accept a motion to amend and do pass as amended.
Madam Chair, I'll move to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 346.
Any discussion on the motion? All right. We have a motion from Assemblywoman Backus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay? The motion carries unanimously. The last item on our work session agenda for tonight, before we go to the floor, will be Assembly Bill 518.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assembly Bill 518 establishes a formula for determining the maximum amount of a county may be required to pay for the provisions of indigent defense services. Additionally, the bill prohibits a county from seeking reimbursements from the state for the costs of capital improvement projects related to the provisions of indigent defense services. The bill also establishes requirements for the counties to submit annual financial status reports to the Department of Indigent Defense services unless the department requires such reporting quarterly. Section 7 of the bill makes a general fund appropriation of $3.6 million in 2024 and $6.6 million in fiscal year 2025 to the Interim Finance Committee for the allocation of Department of Indigent Defense Services to fund the reimbursement of counties for the costs in excess of maximum contribution amounts for the proposed indigent defense services costs for the department related to compliance with the Davis versus State consent judgment, costs of the Office of the State Public Defenders for contracts for legal services for complex cases, and costs for training and paying parity for the attorneys who provide indigent defense services. There were two proposals that were discussed during the hearing. The first was provided by the Department of Indigent Defense. Proposed various changes, including amending Section 2 of the bill to clarify how each county's maximum contribution amount is calculated, setting the base year as the actual cost to the county for providing indigent defense services for fiscal years 2021, 22, and less any state reimbursements, and to ensure the maximum contribution amount for each county is adjusted annually on a compounding basis by the lesser of the cost of inflation for the immediately preceding calendar year, or 5%. In addition, the amendment would add a new section to Section 2, clarifying that the counties are not required to seek state reimbursements for indigent defense costs in excess of maximum contribution amounts. The proposed amendment includes also a new section of the bill, which would add general fund appropriations to the budget of the Office of State Public Defenders and the Department of Indigent Defense Services. These include appropriations of $575,000 in each fiscal year of the biennium. However, I don't believe that was being contemplated by the committee. The amendment would also require the Department of Indigent Defense Services to submit annual reports to the Interim Finance Committee detailing the expenditures made from the appropriations included in Section 7. And lastly, the amendment would revise the effective date from July 1st to upon passage and approval. I would also note that there is a second amendment that was provided by Ms. Walker, requesting an annual ongoing appropriation of $1,474,200 to support overtime and weekend work based on a number of judges, attorneys, and how many times they hold court over the weekend. Funding would also be restricted to certain purposes, and unused funds would be required to revert. Madam Chair, there was also one more amendment that was submitted to us today, and I believe Speaker Yeager may want to address that one as well.
Ms. Walker, would you come up to the table for us, please? Everyone up here is getting a little delirious, lack of rest, so I think you might explain the amendment just a little bit better.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Mary Walker, representing Douglas, Lyon, and Story counties. What I did is I worked with the Governor's Finance Office as well as with the Department of Indigent Defense. What we were originally thinking when we were over on the Senate side is to have the controller actually pay to the counties that it's a lump sum amount. You can calculate it up. We know how many times they have court on the weekends. We know how many people, and it's a flat dollar amount. So it's just going to be a payment to them by August 1st of each year. And but in talking with the governor's finance office as well as DIDS, we thought a more permanent structure would be to fund it through DIDS. And that's why we have that amendment to you.
Members, is that clear as mud? But does everyone understand what this last amendment will be on this bill? Yes? Okay.
Would you like me to make?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, in reviewing the most recent amendment, there were some things that fiscal staff identified that I'd just like to get on record and for possible consideration by the committee. With regards to Section 9 for the appropriation for the weekend stipend clause, that indicates any remaining funding shall be reimbursed back to the state controller. This should be updated as the funding would no longer be placed into a new account under the controller's office and instead would go straight to the Department of Indigent Defense's budget. So would suggest replacing the standard reversion language indicating unspent funds would go back to the general fund. In addition, under Section 9, under the impression that the appropriation included here would be ongoing for beyond fiscal year 2023-25. The committee may wish to consider identifying this as a one-time appropriation, and if the agency wished to continue this into their budget, that they should seek this as an enhancement unit within their budget in future biennium. Madam Chair, that concludes the remarks that we have regarding this.
Members, any questions? Assemblyman Hafen.
Just confirmation, Madam Chair, I believe that the ballpark $6 million a year that was going towards the indigent defense was going to have to come in front of IFC for approval. Is that still part of the amendment? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly that portion.
So, Madam Chair, yes, I do believe that this would incorporate all three amendments, with exception of there was a portion of the first amendment that was prepared by the Department of Indigent Defense that requested $577,095 in each year of the 2023 biennium related to the Office of the State Public Defender to fund contract costs of indigent defense or attorneys. I don't believe that that was something that the committee indicated they wished to pursue, so it would still be everything within the first proposed amendment, Ms. Walker's second amendment, as well as Ms. Walker's third amendment with the provisions that I provided as technical changes by fiscal staff.
Members, any other questions? Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a question, but just a comment. I wanted to thank the folks who worked on this amendment. I think the creation of DIDS and the state obligation to fund public defense has certainly been a work in progress, as many of you on IFC know. But I particularly like that there is a fund here to be able to compensate for the courts that have to take place on the weekends and in the rurals to comply with the 48-hour requirement. As stated, we can't commit to funding that long term. I think it has to be a budget enhancement decision for DIDS, but would just encourage folks who feel the effect of that on the ground to be able to make sure that that gets reported back to the legislature in terms of what that actually is able to do in terms of processing those cases and in terms of morale and finding people who are willing to do it, because it's important constitutionally. And I think if we can get that information back, whatever the next iteration of the Ways and Means and Senate Finance Committee is, I think we'll be able to look at that and really put some consideration on whether that's going to be a long-term solution to this problem. So again, just wanted to thank everyone with 5 or 6 days to go for getting this into place that we can work session it.
Members, we're going to thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. We have a clarification of exactly where the money is going to land. in response to Assemblyman Hafen's question.
Assemblywoman Monroe Marino, through you to Assemblyman Hafen, the $6 million, so the $6.3 million in 2024 and the $6.6 million in 2025 would go to the IFC contingency account. The Section 9, which provides the $1.4 million, that would be for the weekend stipends. That would then go to the Department of Indigent Defense directly.
Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, I believe the motion would be to amend and do pass.
Madam Chair, I'd move to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 518.
Second, Madam Chair.
I have a motion from Assemblywoman Bacchus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and thank everyone that went into putting this together. Thank you so much. Members, love y'all, but we still got more work to do on the floor, and we might come back, so we're going to recess. All right.
Maybe.
We might. It's the end of session. You gotta love it. So we will stand in recess.